Hi, everyone. Welcome back to La Coalición podcast. Today, we're here with...
Hector.
Eddie.
And I'm Yaz. Thanks for watching again. So a lot has happened since last time we spoke and had this podcast.
I know.
It was a lot in the beginning in the other podcast, but now it's even more, I feel like.
Yeah, we haven't been able to record because of how much has been
we've
going
been too
on.
busy. Yeah. But yeah, I guess we can talk about what has been new, movies, favorite song. How are y'all feeling? A little check-in.
My favorite song is Unicorn. Rainbow Unicorn by
By Chapel Roan.
Famous Rainbow Unicorn. I'm just kidding. I'm talking about our producer over there.
Our communications director.
Our communication director was asking us if we've heard that Rainbow Unicorn song.
That's my favorite.
New movies that I'm loving. New movies that I'm loving right now, no. I think the movies that are out right now that are like the popular, like Snow White is out right now. I don't want to watch that because Gal Gadot is in it. I'm watching The White Lotus a lot, which I'm obsessed with. But yeah, The White Lotus and Drag Race are like the only things that I'm watching right now.
I'm watching Hannibal. I know it came out like 10 years ago. It's on Amazon Prime right now, and I think it was on CBS before. It's about Hannibal Lecter.
Wait, is that with Julianne Moore playing the role that Jodie Foster played in Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's a psychiatrist, FBI agent. It's a really good show, and it touches on a lot of themes of the Western philosophy, like a lot of Freudian philosophy, a lot of Nietzschean philosophy in there, which I've been rekindling my interest in philosophy lately. So I've been watching a lot of podcasts on it, and then Hannibal marries that really well on the very ultra extreme end of what can happen when you take things that far. So it's been a good show.
I love when horror does that. I love when horror is used to like talk about society. Like that's why I love Jordan Peele movies so much. Like I love when horror is used to talk about society and culture like that.
Yeah, so that's been what I've been watching. Yeah.
I've been watching La Isla de Tentaciones.
Never even heard
Have you heard of Montoya?
Wait, yes.
I
is
have.
it the Spanish show?
I have,
yes,
yeah.
from,
Damn.
And they
like
just
Spain.
brought it to America, right?
Did
like,
they?
have an
Because
American
I've been
version
using
now,
a VPN.
right?
I've been.
No, I mean like they have an American version now, like
Oh,
with American
really?
cast.
I
No
think
way,
it's
I
a
didn't
it
know.
was a
No way.
UK show.
Okay.
It was started in the UK,
Oh.
and then they made a Spanish one. And
And that's the
I don't
one
know,
that,
was it
like,
Brazil or
viral.
Argentina?
It was Spain.
Spain.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was Spain. So I've been watching that.
Montoya.
And each episode is literally 3 hours long.
Oh my God,
It's
No
crazy.
way.
movies.
It's crazy. And at first, it took me forever to get into it because I was like,
Uh-huh.
there's no way I'm going to watch this. Like,
Yeah.
2 hours and a half, 3 hours. I'm like, no, I have a life. But apparently not because I finished it.
And it's that good.
And it was so good. Like, they've been dragging it out. They did the reunion, and now they're doing debates. And, like, they just keep dragging it out because
Wow.
it's so... I mean, a lot of people love it. So
Yeah.
How is
But
it
it was-
compared to like shows like Love Is Blind?
way better.
Way better.
I love Love Is Blind. Like, I've been watching since it came out in 2020. But Isla de Tentaciones, the drama, they're so messy.
Yeah.
It's just like... and Montoya is just so funny. He's
No,
so
I think they
funny.
have like an American version with like an American
Really?
cast now, but like same format. I think I don't know. It's on Netflix.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to be
Yeah.
watching that next then.
Okay. Well,
But
those
yeah.
are all healthy, good distractions for all
Yeah.
the craziness that's going
Mhm.
on right now.
Yeah, that's what I need right now.
Yeah. And where to start?
Yeah, where to start? I mean, I guess we could go into the Alien Enemies Act.
Ugh, yeah.
Yeah, we had done a fake news versus reality on this.
Yeah, I mean, like 18th century law that President Trump has invoked so that he can deport people suspected of being part of Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan terrorist organization, with no due process, not going in front of a court, no opportunity to plead your case to prove that you are not part of this organization, just put onto a plane and sent to El Salvador. It's not even a deportation. We have to clarify.
Yeah.
This is not deportation because deportation is a process of being sent back to your country of origin. We're sent to El Salvador for this like high tech prison campus, and then the Secretary of Homeland Security, Christian Noem, goes and she does like a TikTok standing. Did you guys see the TikTok?
No.
Yes, she goes to the
What?
prison in El Salvador where they're sent, and she's standing in front of a cage, and there's all these shirtless men who are like all tattooed standing behind her, like just standing there, and she's talking about like don't, well, I guess don't let them fight you because this is where they're gonna send you, and it's her in front of a cage with like hundreds of shirtless men behind her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they picked a lot of the MS-13 members that are
Yes.
there because they're covered from head to toe in tattoos. And yeah, their social media, the White House social media has been
Awful.
like a clear view of how bad shit really is. When you use AI to make an arrest Studio Ghibli style, it is. I know a lot of people have been reacting to that, right? Because it's some of the most abhorrent, kind of vile things that you can visibly kind of see and just have a really gut wrenching reaction to. This is where we're at now, where our White House is using their X, their Twitter, to post about ASMR videos of chaining people up right before they get deported, to make TikToks in front of a prison labor camp, because that's what they're doing. They're working for free for at least a year.
A little something called slavery.
Yeah. With no due process whatsoever at all. It's happening to American citizens, and it's just the introduction to what Trump is trying to do as far as putting a lot of strain on the immigrant justice system when it comes to the judicial executive checks and balances there. I think part of the reasoning why they're ignoring some of these things, and technically speaking, the first plane that went, it was already international waters. Which doesn't matter. It's liberal talk, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I think part of the idea behind them is to put as much stress into the judicial system to find ways to crack it and find judges to just give up. Right.
Yeah.
So
no, and I think that's probably the scariest part is potentially innocent people being sent to this horrible place. That's the scariest part. But the other scary part is the implications of completely ignoring a court order. I mean, this went to court. The judge had given an oral decision saying these planes, if they're already out, you have to turn them around. These people cannot be deported. They ignored that. It was like 200 something people that were sent to El Salvador. By the time they had landed, the judge had already given its written order, but then that's like saying that the oral one doesn't count, which it does. So it's just finding these like little loopholes so that they can say that they're not ignoring a judge's order, but they ignored a judge's order. Like that is a constitutional crisis. Like that is the crisis already, ignoring a judge's order. Because I think for all of us, we've seen like Congress is not going to do anything. The president is going to do whatever they want because they have the support of Congress. The only branch that we have that could be a potential check on them is the judicial branch. And even then, it's like they're going to completely ignore an order, send 200 people with no due process to a country they don't know, and put them in this ridiculous, disgusting slave camp prison. And it's scary. That's really scary. Anyone who can potentially look, I mean, brown is literally what can get you picked up now, and sent.
Yeah. Exactly. Even like tattoos that aren't even
like
gang related. It could
like
literally be
an autism like ribbon can be identified.
A rainbow unicorn.
Rainbow unicorn.
Yeah, rainbow unicorn tattoo.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's really scary. They went on Friday to the Supreme Court. The Trump administration went so that they can reverse the judge's order, put that order on hold. We'll see what the Supreme Court is going to do with that. I don't have my hopes up with the Supreme Court, but it's scary.
You know, when you look at history and you see what happened with Hitler, with Mussolini, right? These fascist governments. At first, they were elected. It's not like they did a coup and, you know, they came in by force. But one of the first traits that you see with these governments is that they try to encapsulate all of the power into the executive. And that's what's happening right before our eyes, right? Since November 4th or January 20th, whenever he was inaugurated, it's been that slow creep of pushing more authority over to the executive.
The unitary executive.
Yeah, so that's where we're at.
There is a Republican California Congress member who has a bill that would not allow federal judges, to put holds on executive orders. Which that's literally their job, is to review executive action, congressional action, to decide whether it's constitutional or not, or consistent with our laws. And now, because so many judges have been ruling against President Trump and the administration's actions, they want to now just not allow them to even have the opportunity to hear those cases. Which, I mean, constitutional crisis.
Yeah, no, this is crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even Elon Musk, like that's a whole I mean, we could get into it because that's literally like showing history is repeating itself. This time though, Elon, he's not a part of the government. Doge, whatever, fuck that. Like, it's not real though, and he has so much control, so much power. And now we're talking about like the social media and like pop culture, like you're talking about the TikToks and like ASMR and all this stuff. Like, we are blending these things that should not be blended at all, and we're making all of these like politics into our pop culture, and I feel like we're normalizing
and we're
it
making
too.
it okay. Why the fuck are we making it okay? Why am I watching or listening to the Daily, the New York Times, and Megyn Kelly? I don't want to listen to Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Don't bring her on for an interview.
Yeah.
Why is Gavin Newsom having interviews with freaking
Charlie
Kirk
and
and Steve Bannon? Like, why is this okay? And the worst part of I'm gonna go off because this really pissed me off. The worst part of the Gavin Newsom interview with Charlie Kirk is that he very gleefully says, my son was like so excited because he's a big fan of you. His 13-year-old son, I think he's like 13 or something like that. And it's like, what other way can you say I'm such a piece of shit dad that I am raising a 13-year-old son to be a Nazi lover? That's an abdication of your parental responsibility. Like, that was infuriating to me, but I don't want to go off.
No, but it's so true though.
Yeah.
Like, we want them on this podcast, actually. Let's come to this podcast.
Yeah, come here.
No, they would never. But yeah, it's crazy what we're living. I feel like we kind of saw this coming, but I don't know. Like,
I think, to bring it back to the IE, right? Like what Pomona College is doing, they're complying with. So they're complying with the federal government for all of the DEI inquiries that they're doing from the Department of Justice. But that also includes a lot of the student activists and protesters that made encampments, right? So their potential identity could be sent over to the federal government so they could be targeted for what we're seeing now is deportations or, kidnappings of student visa holders that have been here,
Green
card holders.
Too. Like,
They've been here for a long time, no criminal record, nothing of the sort, and they're being deported because of their stance on Palestine.
Yeah.
So it's disappointing that Pomona College is doing that, right?
Boo.
We have a lot of folks that live in Pomona that are maybe listening to this podcast that live in Pomona. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge that we're facing here in the IE.
Yeah. A student writing an op-ed is a bigger threat to our national security than our national security advisor, our Secretary of Defense, Tulsi Gabbard. What is Tulsi Gabbard?
She's an appointed. I don't know. She got appointed to something.
National security.
Yeah, national security.
A student writing an op-ed supporting Palestine is more a threat than all of those people creating a signal chat and sharing war plans and including a journalist in there.
I think that, for what it's worth, I think that was intentional. I don't think that was a mistake.
Yeah. Why does he have a journalist on his contacts anyways?
A former IDF soldier as well. So
I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
The journalist?
The journalist was a former IDF soldier.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, I don't think that it was. I think part of it was, we're going to start bombing the shit out of Yemen. Let's have this be the story and not the indiscriminate bombing that we're doing in Yemen. That's my take on that.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're all talking about now. We're talking about this stupid signal chat.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're not talking about the civilians that they're killing.
That's so true.
Exactly.
It's all a distraction.
It is.
Yeah, we should do an episode one day with just 10 full hats on. And then just go over some of these conspiracy theories. It would be fun.
We should.
Distraction.
Yeah.
We should.
So yeah, it's disappointing that Pomona College is doing that, but I think a lot of people still don't understand how conservative the IE can be. If you look at a lot of the anti-immigrant policy that's being introduced, a lot of it comes from the IE, unfortunately. It comes from, Assembly Member Asaili from Norco, Assembly Member Kate Sanchez from Murrieta, Temecula. It comes from Congressman Ken Calvert. It comes from Congressman Jay Obernolte. And these are folks that represent a lot of people here in the IE, right? And you notice during presidential elections, it flip-flops. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's red. It's been red for this past election. So all that to say is that we have a lot of work to do in the IE to not only advocate further for our immigrant community, but to change the minds and narratives of many other people as well that don't see eye to eye to us, including Gavin Newsom. So that's why we're taking a bus of about 100 or so folks to Sacramento next week. So we'll be traveling to Sacramento from San Bernardino to Sacramento for Immigrant Day of Action, IDA. And it's going to be an awesome day where we advocate with elected officials for a full day. Again, bringing a lot of community members from all over the IE, from the high desert down to southern Riverside County. So really excited to have them join us, because we need to show elected officials, regardless of what party they're from, that things are different now and our community is not backing down from anything. We need to really show solidarity and strong community force, because at the end of the day, they should be held accountable to the voter, to the people that live in their districts. And oftentimes they get away with doing the bare minimum. And the bare minimum has gotten us nowhere. In fact, I would argue that it's gotten us back to times when Hitler and Mussolini were around. And that's where we're at right now.
And holding all of them accountable, not only the people who pass or to introduce these bad laws, but the people who do little to stop them or do little to introduce better laws that would expand protections for undocumented people. I mean, some of the things we're going to be advocating for, we have a street vendor bill that we are co-sponsors for that would expand sanctuary protections to the private information of street vendors when they go through a permitting process with the city. A lot of their private information is handed over to the city to obtain that permit. We need to make sure that data is protected. Safety net for all. There's not an actual legislative vehicle for that right now. There's not a bill, but we continue to work in that space so that all workers here in California, regardless of their documentation status, have access to the benefits that they pay into to make sure that they have the financial stability that they need. What are some of the other ones?
Yeah. The piece of shit dad vetoed it twice, by the way.
Yes.
The one we mentioned earlier. And then we have our budget proposal led by Senator Luis Reyes here from San Bernardino. That's for legal services in the IE. We do live in a legal desert. We have a handful of providers, and one of them is sitting right here on the sofa. And we could use a lot more. Trust me. I mean, we just had a legal clinic at UCR, right? And do you want to go into how much?
Yeah. It was so cool. A lot of people showed up. We offered legal consultations, but beyond that, we offered workshops on know your rights, family preparedness, and removal defense. And there was a bunch of resources like their tabling. We had the consulates from Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico, and then a bunch of other partner organizations that went. And a lot of people went home feeling very happy because, they're in a time where they don't know who to go to, where to go. There's a lot of notario fraud going on. People are like, well, I don't want to give my money to someone random if they're not going to file, and people are scared to file. Right now, people honestly just want to know their options. It's not even about filing. Some people don't even know that they qualify for something because they haven't gone out and reached out for that advice. So a lot of the feedback that we got was that they were happy to get these resources, and they all went home with something. And there was children, literally infants there, up to seniors and people in couples and friends that were going. So it was really cool to see all of that. And it was all created and hosted by the Legal Roundtable, the IE Legal Roundtable. And that's private attorneys to nonprofit organizations. So people got advice from, different types of people. And it's nice to have that community because right now, we are a legal desert. And more than ever, we need more people to step up. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I was there. I was leading one of the Know Your Rights workshops. There was a lot of people, a lot of good questions that they had. Just an active interest in wanting to know more about their status, wanting to know more about the options, not for themselves, but also for their family and friends. And that's why the budget request is so important too, so that we can continue to do that work, not only of providing the legal services, of building up the capacity, because we are that legal desert. We need more providers to be able to actually provide those services, and also doing all the great community stuff like the legal clinics, Know Your Rights workshops, family preparedness workshops, all of that, so that work can continue in the IE.
The IE is huge. We have people from Coachella that drive to LA for their consultations. That's not okay. That's not right? So we have to change that. And with this budget, we're hoping to make a drastic change. And we're hoping that, again, it'll be included in this year's California budget. And if you want to be a part of the buses next year, become a member. Become a member, and we will hit you up if you're interested to join us on the buses, because we need all of you to be part of this.
So definitely become a member, because it's not just the IDA work, it's access to the legal clinics, it's so many good perks that come with membership to ICIJ. and so many ways that you can get involved. I feel like people are frustrated because they don't know what they can do to stop all the craziness that's happening. And if you're local to the IE, San Bernardino, Riverside counties, this is a great opportunity to get involved. A lot of lobbying that we do, education that we do with community, a lot of good stuff like that.
Yeah, so hopefully next year we can double the buses,
Yeah.
right? With all the members listening and signing up to 4.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Have you guys seen any interesting things on internet, on social media that have made these hard times a little enjoyable?
Enjoyable.
No, unfortunately, no.
Well, I have a bone to pick, and
Go ahead.
I'm actually very upset about this. With Univision, I think they're the main ones, but I'm sure there are a lot of other networks that cater to a mostly Spanish-speaking audience. The Department of Homeland Security is running these ads because their big strategy right now of the whole Trump administration in terms of immigration is because they don't yet have the resources for mass deportation. They don't have the bed capacity. They don't have detention capacity. They don't have money to pay for the flights, to hire more agents, all of that good stuff. Their big strategy is getting people to self-deport, right? Scaring them into self-deporting. I see the ads all the time of Cristino, and they're in Spanish too, saying, if you're here and you're undocumented, we're going to find you and deport you, and you will never have a chance to come back. But if you leave yourself right now, you may have a chance to come back. Obviously, just trying to scare people. They're starting to run ads on TV, and Univision has allowed them to buy ad space on their channel. I think millions and millions of Spanish speaking people here in the United States watch their programming. And I think it's such an unfortunate decision to allow their network to be a space for that kind of fear mongering for their own audience.
Well, I feel like this goes for a lot of like mainstream media too, but specifically for Spanish media, there has been a huge interest from the Republican Party to put a lot of funding and resources to Spanish network TV.
It's their largest growing electorate for the Republican Party.
Yeah, and it's paid off, right?
Mm-hmm.
This has been a project for at least 10 years now where they have targeted the Latino community, kind of closely related to our Catholic values and the family structure that we have, and playing into that culture and imbuing a lot of, Republican ideology in that. So unfortunately it is paying off, right?
Yeah.
We see that, and it is a difficult conversation to have with our family members sometimes because that's what they watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember having a conversation with my friend whose grandfather is Cuban, but all he watches is Univision. And he would think that he's from like Florida or something, but he lives here in California, and he just can tell you everything about Trump and everything. And I'm just like, how does that happen, right? But a lot of people are listening and taking it all in, just regurgitating what they see.
Yeah, no, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they know their target audience, the Latinos for Trump.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they knew what they were doing with that. But also, they're desperate. I feel like that's why they're taking these measures, because they know, like, the deportations and, like, going and knocking on people's doors, it's not working. They are failing pretty bad. Like, I feel like to the scale that they thought, like, all these mass deportations, and, like, I feel like it's not going as they planned. And this is kind of like their last resort. And I feel like we just have to remind the community that, like, your voice matters. And I feel like going to like know your rights workshops and like understanding there's other options is really important. Legal consultations are also really important.
Yeah.
So
the Borders are Tom Homan was on Fox News pissed, ranting about how there's all these know your rights and how everyone all of a sudden knows their rights because it's working, and they see that it's working.
Yeah, I mean, there was even a report from ICE saying that they are pivoting from the attention to the border and to like real like violence and threatening violence to the U.S. and focusing on Palestinian activists.
Yeah.
So they're monitoring social media accounts from Palestinian activists instead of paying attention to what they were created to do, right? But we know that's BS as well. But this is where they're at now because of the lack of numbers that they want to hit. They're not getting there. That can definitely change once the new budget is in place, for sure. That might take a year or so to be fully fleshed out so we can see the full effects of what that machine might look like. But right now they are definitely operating under let's use as much fear as possible.
Exactly. Well, I feel like I'm the only one ranting because I've ranted about Gavin Newsom and Univision Who is on your
So-
op list?
I've seen that the Dodgers are gonna visit the White House. So, Eddie, go ahead and cook.
Well, they better not come back. That's the thing, is that, the Dodgers have a really diverse team. Everybody knows Otani, right? But everybody from LA, they love the Dodgers. And I was born in LA, but I was raised in Orange County, so I'm an Angel fan. So I don't give a shit about the Dodgers. They're going to win a million other championships. They'll be okay at the end of the day. They can have all the gamblers that they want on their roster. By all means, do your thing, Otani, and your interpreter. It's okay. The Angels will never win shit. We'll never be at that level. It's okay. I'm still gonna go hard for them. But it's disappointing to see such a diverse city like LA with such a huge population of immigrants have them support this team for decades. Like during the parade, you were seeing like all kinds of family members, really, a lot of seniors, a lot of veteranos that are decked out from head to toe on Dodgers.
Well,
and
East LA and Echo Park specifically.
Yeah.
having Such a deep immigrant.
there's a huge
Yeah.
history there. Obviously, a lot of controversy with Chavez Ravine.
Yep.
And having them go to visit the White House is a big slap in the face to a lot of
Yep.
people.
Yeah. No. I mean, hopefully there's players that are declining the invitation and protesting it in some way. But it seems like right now, no one has said they're not going to go.
I mean, I think it's interesting too, just based on the times that we're living in, is that you don't have a lot of sports activists anymore.
Yeah.
Mm.
No.
Right.
Colin Kaepernicks.
You don't have any more Colin Kaepernicks. Like the closest that we have is Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving will wear a necklace or some shoes or something that has an insignia of Palestine.
Yeah.
And he'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. Like what other athlete out there is speaking up and really standing up against this, right? Very, very few. I mean, I can just think of Kyrie that stands out to me, but I'm sure there's a handful of others around there. Very, very few though.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like artists and like athletes, they used to be like the voices for activism, like through their art form. And now everyone's real silent.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
just weird to see that because I feel like art was such a form of expression of like through music. A lot of artists, they didn't give a fuck. They didn't care. Like they was like, fuck the government, fuck this, fuck that. Like they didn't care. And now everyone's like real quiet and they're scared of losing their label and like not speaking about Palestine and not speaking about Trump and deportations. And it's weird to see that.
Well,
it's
that's
like,
not fair. So, Selena Gomez is crying on Instagram Live,
You're
but she
right.
doesn't know what to do.
You're
She
right.
doesn't
You're
know what to
right.
do.
You're right.
She doesn't. She wished she could do something, but she
Yeah.
doesn't know what she could do.
You're right. You're right. I'm sorry, Selena.
Yeah. So I guess I
Yeah.
just took some of the Dodgers hate and spread it around to the other athletes and other sports, and musicians too. We're just not seeing anybody really become
Actors,
that one.
actresses.
Actually, I guess Macklemore has
Oh
been
yeah.
the
Lady
one.
Gaga
And
has been
Kehlani.
speaking a
The
lot
Kehlani
about
too.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
trans people. The Oscar for Best Documentary went this year to, is it called No Other Sun?
No Other Land. Yeah.
Documentary about life in Palestine with a Palestinian director, and then he was abducted, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
By-
He was. They attempted to lynch him. They beat him
Yeah.
up. They stabbed
Yes.
him. And how much have you heard from the Academy?
Well,
from
that's what I was gonna say. There was a letter that was sent by a couple members of the Academy, but it should have been the entire Academy
Yeah.
signing on to that letter. There was only a couple of Academy members that signed on to the letter, but there should have been more action from the Academy. Not after, but when the news broke and all that.
yeah.
Yeah, and also the peers, like other actors and actresses, like everyone, and directors. I mean, it makes me so mad.
Yep.
It's funny that we're back to this conversation because we started with Chaperone saying, I don't want to be seen as an
As a
activist. Like, don't look at me that way. But it's hard to, like, everybody, like, when you play sports, especially if you're like a professional athlete, they tell you just to shut up and dribble, keep politics out of it, right? But it's impossible to do that. Like, our whole identities are political in some sense.
Yeah, it's unnatural to be neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for a lot of them to say nothing is really, really disappointing. But that's okay. We don't need athletes aren't going to save us either way.
That's true.
It's going to be up to you all and everybody watching, like your friends, your family, your neighbors. It's going to be up to all of us. So don't look to them to give you the hope or the inspiration to stand up and do the right thing.
Yeah.
We all in our hearts know what the right thing is to do. And it just kind of goes to show that at the end of the day, these multi-millionaire, billionaire people are are out for their interests,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to look out for our interests. And there's a lot more of us.
A lot more of us. A lot more of us, and that maybe positive thing that's going on right now is the little tour that AOC and Bernie Sanders did to a couple cities. They got some good crowds. I think there's still questions about what leadership is going to look like and who is going to be that leader, and a lot of people want to be it, but we haven't really seen someone who has the fire and has the passion and has the love from the public. I think AOC probably is the closest to it right now, but I don't know.
Yeah, you guys know me. You guys probably know that I have a different opinion about that, and that can be a whole nother podcast. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. If you guys,
ranting for
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks y'all for watching. Make sure you follow us on social media and become a member. We'll add the QR code or the link below. And thanks for listening and watching.